Hello everybody and welcome back to Carried Away Travels. In this week's video, I want to tell you how you can have some wintry fun all year round at the Liberty Mountain Snowflex Centre in Lynchburg, Virginia. Every Thanksgiving, Daniel and I do something a little untraditional and we actually take a getaway to somewhere that we've either been wanting to visit or maybe a quiet location. And instead of doing like the big feast and everything, we just do a bunch of chilling and recharging. And a couple years ago, we went to Lynchburg, Virginia, and we loved it so much that we actually decided to go back again this year for round two. But of course, we wanted to try out some different activities. The last time we were there, we did a lot of hiking because Lynchburg has miles of trails through these beautiful parks all over, and it's right near the Blue Ridge Mountains. So we spent a lot of time just walking around, especially because we had our Corgi Atlas with us, so that was perfect. But we did want to try a few new things this year, so I started to do some research. But I actually found out about the Snowflex Centre from the Reach International Outfitters scratch-off adventure cards. If you watched my video on the 2024 gift guide for travelers, you probably saw these cards on there because this is one of my top picks for the year. I absolutely love these. We haven't had them for very long, but these have bucket list adventures for all over Virginia. They have them for all sorts of different states. I have the North Carolina box as well. And basically they are organized by cities. And so you pull out the card for the city that you want to go to, and they usually have at least a couple options for each city. So they had multiple ones for Lynchburg. We scratched off a couple and we ended up discovering the Aqua Zoo, which was really cool, and the Liberty Mountain Snowflex Centre as well. The Snowflex Centre just has so many different things you can try, including sledding and tubing, snowboarding, skiing, and trampolining. So there's something for everyone, whether you want to kind of sample a bunch of different things or really practice one particular snow sport. Now, prior to this, I have never tried pretty much any like winter snow sport beyond sledding, if you really want to count that. And I think I've been tubing once or twice. It's been on my bucket list, but it's also one of those things I've hesitated to book like a winter trip because what if I hated skiing or snowboarding? So this seemed like the perfect opportunity to try a number of different things without committing to like a full weekend for it. But of course, especially because it was end of November and very chilly, wintry weather, it seemed like the perfect time of year to go try out some of these activities for the first time. So in this video, I want to give you a breakdown of the Liberty Mountain Snowflex Centre, what you can expect there, as well as prices, what to bring, things like that, so you can have a great time. By the way, if this is your first time here, I'm Carrie, and I share helpful travel tips, itineraries, gear recommendations, and more, so you can always have the perfect trip. Now, if that sounds like the kind of video you want more of in your feed, make sure you hit that subscribe button before you go so you never miss another video from me. So let's kick things off by talking a little bit more about the Liberty Mountain Snowflex Centre. So this is actually part of the Liberty University campus and one of the many activities that they have on site for students as well as visitors. It is open year-round and it has various hours depending on the day, so you definitely want to check that before you go, especially around the holidays. But on a general day, you can expect it to be open Mondays through Thursdays, 3 to 9, Fridays, 3 to 10, Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., and Sundays from noon to 6 p.m. They also have an on-site lodge that's connected to the whole Snowflex Centre, and that was unfortunately closed when we visited for a special event, but you can generally go in there to warm up between runs, or if like you have a friend or a child that's taking a private lesson, you can stay in there so you're not cold. Now, as I mentioned, they have a ton of different activities that you can do, and they're all set up to be used throughout the year. They don't actually use artificial snow. They use something called Snowflex, which is apparently like the closest thing you can have to actual snow as far as how it responds to like your skis and your snowboard. But I will say it is kind of rough. I did a little research on it before we went because I'd never heard of it before, but essentially there's like a concrete pad and this snowflex goes over it. It kind of felt like AstroTurf to me a little bit. It was kind of rough, and then they constantly miss that with water. So, despite the fact that you will not actually be on snow, you will be getting wet, especially if you happen to wipe out. So that is something to keep in mind as you get dressed if you are planning to do the snowboarding, skiing, or sledding. Since we were complete noobs to this, we pretty much decided to stick to snowboarding for the Snowflex stuff on their bunny hill. Now they have a huge hill down the back with ramps and little obstacles and all sorts of different things. We were not about to try that. I did not want to break a leg. But they do have the nice bunny hill at the front of the Snowflex Center, and one side of it is for sledding, and then the other side is set aside for people practicing their skiing and snowboarding. Obviously, I can't personally compare how the Snowflex felt to actual snow, but I did feel like it was a good surface to practice on for the most part. Besides the fact that anytime you wiped out, it did hurt a decent bit just because it has that concrete pad and the Snowflex itself is a little rough. I also 100% had a wipeout where I was feeling pretty good, and as soon as I sat up, water squirted me right in the face from their little misters. So, that was just adding insult to injury, but all things considered, it was easy to adjust to, and by the end of the afternoon, we did feel like we were starting to get the hang of things. Granted, there were a couple of 8-year-olds pretty much snowboarding circles around me who also were taking their first ever snowboarding, but that's fine. They also have a couple tubing runs. One's all the way up at the top of this hill, and there's one that starts a little lower down and can accommodate 2 people at a time, and that uses something called Neveplast, and to me that just kind of looked like a plasticky material, but it did just fine for getting the tubes down the hill at pretty decent speeds, again, without actually requiring snow. We actually really enjoyed the tubing, and we went up a couple times. They have a line where a worker will bring you a tube, and if you do want to go down the joint hill together, they will give you a special clip. After you get your tube, you can go stand on their ski lift, which is, for that one, it's more like just a moving pathway that goes up the hill. So that takes you all the way to the top, or you can get off at a lower level for the double tubing hill. We went all the way to the top both times, and then there's a worker there who will make sure that, you time your run correctly so you don't bump into anyone at the bottom, and will give you a good push off and things like that. So we really enjoyed that. It definitely, I was spinning around a little bit, which is always a little more adrenaline boosting when you're going backwards at relatively high speeds, but it didn't feel unsafe at all. Like, we had a great time, none of us flipped, and it does have like little walls on either side, so you kind of bumper car down there a little bit, but I thought that was so much fun. Again, we did that a couple times. The line wasn't too long, even on Black Friday, I believe is when we went, or maybe Saturday. Either way, we had a great time with that, and I definitely would have been interested in doing that a couple more times, but we did want to maximize our time at snowboarding, so we only did it twice. The final activity that they offer is actually an Olympic grade trampoline. Now, we ran out of time to try this. We got the 2-hour combo pass, which I'll talk about in a second, but from the pictures, it looks really cool. I'm not a big trampoline person, but Daniel loves that kind of thing. So if we were to go back, I definitely think I'd like to try that out. Just keeping in mind, like, I would want to take different clothes for that. I was dressed for like winter snowboarding, so I'd probably want something a little more movement friendly, but if that interests you, that's definitely something you should check out while you're there. All right, now that you know about the different things that you can do at the Liberty Mountain Snowflex Center, let's talk about activity pricing. They offer a variety of different options that you can choose depending on what you want to try, which I really appreciated. But we personally went with the 2-hour combo pass just because for $25 a person, you could try anything with all the equipment included. If you're more interested in something like just skiing and snowboarding, they do offer hourly and day passes, but the equipment does cost an additional $16. You can see it's $8 per hour or a day pass for 25. And you get access to both hills. So if you wanted to start on the bunny hill and then go to the big hill, or you're already a pro and you just want to use the big hill, you can do that for as long as you want. They also have private lessons, which I honestly wouldn't mind. I saw one of the workers working with a couple very small children, like 5 and 6 year olds, and they were doing such a good job. They were so patient with the kids and they were getting the hang of it real quick. So if you have a child that you're maybe debating about like doing a private lesson for, or even you want one for yourself and you just want someone to be patient with you, I thought their staff did an absolutely awesome job. They also have group rates, and then they have just tubing for $17 an hour. Personally, I don't know that I would want to do tubing for an hour straight, which is why I was really happy we did the combo pass, but to each their own. And to wrap up this video, I just want to give some practical tips on what to wear, especially because I had never heard of Snowflex. I was kind of unsure about what I should be wearing, and so I want to make sure that you are fully prepared for this situation. So like I mentioned, even though they don't use actual snow, they are constantly misting the Snowflex material. So if you're planning on doing the skiing, snowboarding, or sledding, I would really recommend waterproof outerwear. So ski pants, a ski coat, or if maybe it's a little warmer, I would go with like waterproof hiking pants or something. You definitely still want to have everything covered because that material can really hurt if you fall on it. But also, if you are not wearing waterproof outer clothing, you will be absolutely soaked if you wipe out. I didn't have my waterproof pants unpacked. I was kicking myself, so I ended up wearing fleece-lined leggings underneath a pair of jeans, and by the end of the day, I was pretty soaked and ready to get out of that. So if you have waterproof outerwear, I would just recommend doing that all around. Boots, if it's cold. Otherwise, you can wear tennis shoes. If you decide to do the skiing or snowboarding, they will give you the proper boots to wear because they have to lock into the equipment. So you don't really need to worry about that. And really, no matter what time of year it is, I would also recommend gloves if you're going to be doing anything on the Snowflex, because that material hurts when you wipe out. My hands are actually a little bit torn up because I flipped a couple times and wasn't wearing my gloves, and it'll tear you up. So you really want to have your hands covered, head to toe covered as well, just to make sure that if you do fall, it doesn't hurt as bad as it could. All right, guys, that is all from me for today. I hope this review of the Liberty Mountain Snowflex Center was helpful and gives you a fun idea of something you can do the next time you're in the Lynchburg area. If you do still have any questions, please feel free to drop those below and I will answer them as quickly as possible. And if you have comments about it as well, please feel free to drop those in the comment section. I love to hear from you guys. If you're interested in reading more about the Snowflex Center or getting a written recap of everything, I do have a full written blog post, as always, on my website at cochranewriting.com under the Carried Away Travels blog. I encourage you to check that out, as well as browse through the many adventures I have posted from Virginia and around the United States and the globe. I try to do a lot of different things, so there's something for everyone on there if you're looking for some travel inspiration. Last but not least, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to Carried Away Travels to get more videos like this from me in the future. As always, thank you so much for stopping by, and I wish you many happy travels.